Uh, we are starting shortly, just having other people join us. All right. Just um, all right. Just okay. So I hope everyone is doing well. I want to welcome you again to this training. Thank you for all those who have been joining in from the first day of the training. It's been a very great experience for me as well, your trainer. And I'm so glad that for all this time, we've had lots of learning. I hope you can hear me clearly. I think yesterday I started on and some people are not hearing me well. So just confirm to me that I'm clear. So in case I'm not clear, then I can adjust my devices. So can one or two people confirm that everything is okay? All right. Thank you, Aldo, for the confirmation. So I believe I'm here. Sabrina, thank you so much. Okay. So basically today is our last day and I will be discussing several things. So I again ask you to get your pen, get your notebook. Yeah, there will be one or two things that you definitely take home basically today. So as we wait for other people to come, the NGO world continues to have opportunities, especially for us that are in the third world countries. By third world countries, I mean countries like Uganda, that in Africa and other areas. So once you get to this, means you opportunities. Also opportunities to work in different other places. You know, everywhere where there is kind of course, some instabilities, bit war, bit hunger, bit what. Those are the places that you find NGOs everywhere. And of course, some of the areas are really risky, but if you have it at heart that you a humanitarian worker and you are an NGO worker, then shouldn't really be afraid of such places. Myself, I've been to similar places like those. For the last 2 years, I was working in Karamoja region. Some of you must have heard about Karamoja. That's a place that I only knew, or I would only gone to when I was going for my first day at work. So I only carried my bag to such an area, and there was lots of great experiences in such areas because away from the work that the private sector people do, NGO work is about impact that we create in society. So your job is not only about maybe day-to-day of bringing revenue and getting more donor funding. Your day-to-day job is to create impact outside there. Oh, somebody says you're breaking. I hope it's not your internet because other people can really hear me very well. Just try to find a better place that can give you some good average internet. So I was saying that the NGO has several experiences that even you as sure you're breaking. The breaking is real. Let me try to. Am I clear? Is it better or still the same thing? Any improvement? Somebody. Okay, so we are 12. I believe other people will really get us here. Somebody says better, clear now. Yeah, you know, our internet keeps on and off here and there. So I was saying that there are lots of experiences, and many of you could have might have had different expectations for this training, and many of you still look forward to joining the industry or are already part of it. So I want to say that there are immense opportunities. Yesterday we looked at one of the job sites, and we saw in the accounting column of the first 3 jobs were all from NGOs. So it's a green field, and it's also it still has opportunities. That's what I can basically see. And also the pay is not really bad when to those that have at least heard about what really NGOs pay. They have some good amount of money, and they value talent, and then also there are opportunities to grow. I'll give you an example that I was working in the private sector, and one of the organizations I was working for, we only had 3 staff in that organization. And it meant that for me to grow, I needed to become maybe a finance manager and maybe become, let's say, finance director. And these people were not going anywhere. You get it? So it really disturbed me because I worked and there was no hope for growth. And that is one of the reasons why my mind started switching now to see, can I find opportunity somewhere? So what happens in some environments like the NGO world is you'll find, for example, I'll tell you the organization where I work. We have over 30 finance staff, 30. So it means that in such a team, there are different levels. Of course, we have accountants, we have senior accountants, we have finance managers, we have finance director. So there are opportunities to grow beyond just your role. If you're an accountant, you know that at least maybe within the finance manager, even if there is one finance manager who is not about moving, at least there's one other finance manager to find another opportunity that will move out, and you get that opportunity to grow. So when you're making your career decisions, it's very important that you also think about your growth. So the organizations you're working for right now, you should be able to look around and see, for the time you've been in this place, is there hope for you to grow? Never have this kind of mindset that I'm waiting for this person to move or to get another job so I can grow, because these people may never get other new jobs. So it means that you stick in the same place. And also don't be too comfortable in that role. Make sure that you're open to opportunities. I know some of you have never even updated your CVs. And every time you add a document, you just keep it and you're comfortable. They are paying you a salary. Why they struggle? One of the things that we have to know is that in life, we offer our services as employees so we can enrich ourselves, so we can become better, so we can earn good money, so we can take good care of our families, so we can also create that kind of environment for our children where they can afford what they really want. Some of you may not have gone to the best schools, but then why don't you create it for your children, where you now prioritize your career and see, how do I prioritize my career growth? Because one of the things that I also realized, especially in career, is that no one is responsible for your career apart from you. And that's in most cases, you'll see that employers are really happy for you to remain in your job, your current role, because you're doing it very good, and they feel like if they get another person, that person will struggle to learn. So you see that kind of mindset that will be in this person. So they will not think about your growth as much as that much as you can think about it. So that is why your growth is very critical, and that's why I commend everyone who has joined this training, because there is a lot that you're learning from this training that will actually give you leverage even as you continue through your career. Some of the knowledge may not even be used for NGO. Some of this knowledge can actually be used for the private sector. Ideally, the principle is every day should be a time for you to think about your career, to think about how can I grow. Some of you are pursuing your CPA courses, and you feel like things are not really working out. Maybe the papers are not going on well. One of the things I want to tell you is that they also didn't go on well for us at our times. They were also hard, the same way that you're finding them hard. We had many stories of people repeating papers over 4 times, but they persisted through, and now they are graduates of the CPA course. So you too should make sure that you prioritize your progress, your career progress. And by career progress, I mean where you work, but also the other things that help you grow in your career, like courses like these, adding skills. I already talked about different skills. One of the things that you have to know is that there is a lot of competition in the employment world, and because of that, the employer is also looking out for that best employee to recruit. So what makes you stand out? All of you have degrees, or you have a diploma, you have a CPA. So if you have a CPA, you have a degree. So what else sets you apart? And trainings like this are able to boost your CV. Somebody knows that you're a person who looks out for knowledge, because most employers honestly don't want to invest in trainings or education, things like this, because one of the things that why they don't want to invest in them is because they look at this as a cost. So every time you have a training like this, and maybe you propose to them, for them, what they are looking at is from the cost perspective. So employers are interested in those employees also who take time to get off the little that they earn, actually go for such training. So the trainings are very, very important. So I commend you for joining this, and please keep on joining several of them. And one of the other things that I also want to emphasize is your career growth is your responsibility, not the responsibility of your employer, not the responsibility of your parent. You have to, and you also, one of the other things is you also have to plan, because one of the things that I've realized with life is that our life is very limited. Today you're within your 20s, and the next day you're in your 30s, and the other day you're now in your 40s. And employers are stopping to recruit people like you for certain jobs. So you find somebody who is 40 years and is applying for an accountant position, or maybe they're applying for an account assistant or finance assistant, and you're wondering why? Because one of the things that you realize that even employers will not want to recruit such people, because they feel, one, the pay will not be something that can really take care of your family or your needs, because you're already old, you have responsibilities. The other is also mostly you'll find that your supervisors are people who are younger than you, so they feel that there will always be challenges of actually working with a person like you. So if you're in that role and you feel like you're not growing, it's good for you to think about your career. If it means looking out for internal opportunities inside and asking for growth opportunities. For example, if I'm in an organization and I'm in the credit section, and there is actually an accounting section, I would front it to my boss and say, please, I would like to learn the financial accounting side. And some people may find it okay, as long as you promise that you still perform your role, this other side, you can create some time and go learn the other side. Be a person who always looks out to learn new things in the organizations that you work for. But not only that, also make sure that you're adding value to your current role. One of the things that people forget, and they always complain, some of them usually complain that I'm not being promoted, maybe because the boss does not like me, maybe there's favorism in this organization. Yes, those things do exist. I really agree. But one of the things that I also want to say is that you can actually grow in an organization based on your value. You understand? And that's why you see some employees, even when they say they are leaving, the organization will sit down and say, can we add your salary? How much are they going to pay you wherever you're going? So we can add it here. Because they are seeing that value. There are some employees who resign today, and definitely the employer will just also feel relieved and say, oh, I wish this person had asked for this exit earlier on. So don't be that employee. And one of the things that you also need to understand is there are many people who are watching the work that you're doing, and those people can actually be a recommendation to you when you want to move to another organization. I'll give you an example. When I was working in one of the companies I've worked for, I applied for another role in another company, and it so happens that one of the recruiters was by recruiters, I mean the person who was in charge of recruiting for that position in the organization was praying with another staff whom we are working with in the same organization. And so as they were for their prayer time on Sunday, they asked, he asked this lady and said, do you know Samuel Evander? He says he's working for your organization. Can you tell me about them? The gentleman went on to even request the lady to say, please, can you get more information from other people about Samuel? And I want to tell you that because I was doing my work very well, yes, they were not paying me very well. I was in a lower position, but I was still giving the best to my job. This person was able to give a good recommendation about me. And even when they were asked to find out more information from other people about me within the organization, they were able to say positive things about my performance. And I want to tell you that I was able to get that job at that point in time. So it is good for you to understand that whatever will actually take you forward is your current. So your current job also matters when you to grow. Create networks. When you're part of such training, make sure you create networks. You understand? Because you never know who can actually recommend you for something. Are we together? So it's very important that you take your career very seriously. If you don't, even these trainings will not make sense to you. You'll get them and you have these certificates full of dust without getting the best out of them. So as you get these certificates, make sure you think through and see, how can I really position myself? Start applying for some of these opportunities. Don't underlook yourself and say, but I don't have experience. I remember somebody yesterday was asking, but do these organizations shortlist people with no NGO background? And I'll tell you that myself, I was able to cross from the private sector to the NGO world without the experience. And I told you that exactly what the employer will be looking out for is your motivation to joining them. What is that is within your CV, or what is that you present on the interview panel that will tell them that this person, even if they are not in the NGO world, they actually understand how NGOs run and they have the skill. It will actually not take them long to move from whatever they are doing to what they are going to do in the next job. So it's very important for you to have that self-belief within you. Keep trying. Even if you apply, some of us apply for jobs over 50 companies, and only one person responds. And that one person who responds is the person who gives you the job. You see that. So there's one person who was asking me, can I apply for this recently advertised URA jobs? Now I have applied to several companies and no one is usually shortlisting. And I was like, please go ahead and apply for those jobs, because you never know, it is your chance to sign. You get it. People still say, now those jobs, they already have cousins, they already have brothers, they already have people that they have already created them for. Yes, of the 300 opportunities, they could be already 100 opportunities for certain people, but then the rest of the opportunities, you can be part of those people that can tap into such opportunities. Very important for you. You get it. So you shouldn't be in that kind of state and mindset of saying these things will not work out for me, and you feel you keep on feeling sorry for yourself but doing nothing about it. You get it. So it's very, very important. So I just felt I should speak some words to you even as we start our session, as we have different people who have joined us. People who have just joined us, welcome to our last day of this grant management training. Just found me trying to give a little words of counsel to the members who are part of this training, that it's beyond the certificate. You have to demonstrate more, not only on your current job, but also on wherever you aspiring to go. You get it. Very important. Prioritize your professional development. If you're doing CPA, make sure you finish it. If you're not started CPA, make sure it is part of your priorities. Invest in yourself. That investment is what will give the return to you. And I want to say that opportunities are there. Opportunities that don't need connections are there. You get it. Where you have a connection, well and good, but make sure that you are positioning yourself for any opportunities. If the connection fails, make sure that you can position yourself to jump out of the connection. The principle is, it is only for those that stand out. If a job is advertised today, it will be circulated all over accountants around Uganda and maybe even beyond Uganda, and many people apply. So your question should be, how do I continuously stand out of all those people that apply? You get it. So it goes beyond to even the way you up. Some of you, I think, have applied for jobs and you say, I've applied for several of them and no one shortlists me. And you ask them, so how do you draft your email? You get it. How do you send your email? You understand? Some of you send emails in a very funny way, and you even make the person who is recruiting feel sorry for you. You get it. It's very important for you to make sure that you prioritize all this. I'm going to show you an example. One time we were looking for an opportunity, an accountant for one of our clients in some other organization that I'm part of. I want to show you something. You see, I want to show you, this is one of the first emails. Now, this one is Assumpta Nakiboneka. Hope you're not one of the class here. And if you are, or you know this person, I'm sorry, I'm just using it as an example for us to learn something about job application. Now, this is Assumpta. We're looking for an intern, basically. Assumpta sends an email with no subject. You get it. Email etiquette is very key. There is no subject on this email. And Assumpta says, good morning, sir or madam. I hereby apply for post of intern. I'm willing to learn and train with you, and I'm eligible candidate for this post to be considered. Thank you. That is her CV. Yes, somebody will say that this application has no problem and it's very clear. But remember, if somebody is receiving over 1,000 applications, there is this application. I'm going to show you another one. Now, there is this one. This one tried to write application as an intern for the startup program. Yeah, so madam, I feel I will be considered. Put the application. Now, the other person only put their CV. This person went ahead to put an application as well, and their cover letter as well. Now, there's another person here that I'm going to show you. Now, this person comes and tries to give more information. When greeting Sam. Now, this one, new Miso was writing as if you know the person whom we are writing. I can receive my CV, waiting to develop my career. Very elaborative. Are we seeing that there's a lot to do with this information in this email for somebody who is opening the email? Very important. I'm going to show you another person who really impressed me very much. Which was this one. Now this one went ahead to give more details. Even before I open the CV, I hope you're well. My name is so and so. Write the message, what and what. I'm principled, focused. I have issue of making money, get a small business ventures, indulge in schools, ABCD. Okay, so they explain and share most of the information. Now this one comes, says no subject, and says if there is even no dear who, dear madam, or dear what, says I would like to express my interest in this opportunity. There is no subject. Even when you look at the picture, they were like in their bedroom. Like, okay. So this person also wants to work. You get it. So there is important. Now there's now this other person who is very more serious and writes things even in paragraphs and really attracts you, gets your attention, and you're like, okay, I'm a recent graduate of that, with that. I was excited about the opportunity. Writes everything, and you're like, I think I need to shortlist this person, and I see them. Maybe since I'm looking for this this intern, maybe this person can actually be groomed. One of the reasons why organizations these days want to recruit interns is because they want to use these interns to groom them to take on roles, because they feel sometimes it's hard to gamble out with a person rather than okay, it's better for you to recruit somebody through this process and mentor them rather than recruiting somebody who already has experience, and maybe even the experience does not relate to your organization. So it's very important for you to even make sure that all this that you're sharing speaks the best of you. You get it, huh? So you will learn most of these things as you proceed with life, that life is all about being aggressive, and life is about demonstrating that you're standing out of the rest. You understand? So it's very important for you that even when it comes to your CV, when it comes to your cover letter, they really speak to what you're looking for. They speak of you as the person who is responsible. They speak of you as the person whom everyone will be yearning to work for. Very important. And don't use the same CV for every job. I hope that that you take it. Make sure that every job you tailor that CV towards that specific job. Reason why, one of the things that will always happen is people who are shortlisting will always want to match what they have advertised with what you have in your CV. So if you have maybe sales experience that you think will not be important to this job, remove it. It may not be important. If you did a certificate that you think is not important, I'll tell you myself, I've done certificates, many certificates even outside my accounting. But if I'm applying for the job, I'll not include all these certificates because they don't really relate to the job that I'm applying for. So that is very important for you. And make sure that even as you write your CV, you're including things like at least achievements. What are some of the achievements you've had from your previous job? Some of you just get the roles and responsibilities from your current role and you just paste it in your CV. And somebody who is looking at it knows very well that you just went and copied whatever is in your role, in your JD, and put it under your roles. And how can you craft that part of experience to make sure that if somebody gets to the experience, somebody sees that, okay, this person has not just been doing what the job description requires of them, but this person has gone beyond to actually include things that they have done for the organization. In most cases, employers are looking out for people of initiatives. So when somebody reads your job experience under your CV, are there things that depict your initiative away from the job description? Because your job description says you should scan invoices, maybe enter invoices in the system, do ABCD. What are some of your initiatives? What are some of your achievements in that role that could make somebody feel like, okay, I think I need to shortlist this person so he can come and tell us more of what he can basically do for us here in this organization? Very important for you. So make sure that you're demonstrating all these to the person who is going to recruit you. There's one of the things that is called career objective. Some people include in their CV, some people may not include in their CV, but it's very important for you to include a career objective in your CV. If you don't know how it is, you can try to Google, sit there, you see how people write career objectives. These career objectives, they are also those first things that that attract the person who is recruiting. The person would want to be interested. What is this? Where does, and that's why you see this question of where do you want to see yourself in the next 5 years? It's asked by employers. Reason why employers want people who have ambition in them, people who aspire. Honestly, no one wants to employ you today and you just do the actual work that you've been asked to do for the next 4 or 5 years. They want to see you, of course, growing and bringing new initiatives to the company. You get it? So all those nuggets are very, very important for you and your career, and you need to keep thinking about them. I'll tell you that your responsibility to grow, the responsibility to grow is with you. Don't say that my company doesn't want. If the company cannot give you opportunities to grow, please move on. I'll tell you myself that I moved several jobs in my first career, in my first years of my career. Reason why? Because I felt I needed to learn more and more. You get it? So if you feel you're not learning more and you feel there are no opportunities to grow, please move. If you feel there are opportunities to grow ahead of you, see if I'm an accountant, what can I become after this? For example, I'll tell you, if I was maybe one of you here and you're an accountant in an organization and the next person you report to is the CEO. So your question should be, beyond me being an accountant, if I spend maybe the next 2 years from this position, what is next for me there? Am I going to become the CEO? Of course, definitely you'll not become the CEO in that very short. So you need to think about and say, okay, if I'm to be in this organization, at least I'll serve not beyond 2 years. And when 1 year and a half clicks, be on the search. Start looking out for exit opportunities. There are people who will find have been in the same position for the last 10 years. They're already hitting 40s, and now they are now thinking, well, I'm really stuck. What can I really do? You understand? And they are stuck. They don't know what to do. So do these things when you're early in your career to make sure that you don't regret at the end of the day, or you don't be frustrated because you're seeing your friends are already having big titles, and for you, you're not there. Be ambitious. I remember one of the time when I was starting on my career, I said I want to be a CFO by 30. You get it? And I may not be 30 by now already, but I can see that there is career progression for from my side. So you should also have such ambitions and say, maybe by this time I want to be a manager. You get it? And work towards it, either within that organization or find opportunities out. Sometimes your luck is not within that organization and you have to really look for it outside. So I'm saying we are now 21, so I would want to go back to our business for today. So I hope this speaks something to you, and I hope it helps you even as you aspire to grow in your career. Okay. Just want to see where we ended. Just a moment, and we. Yeah, I was not seeing any comment from. I thought I was speaking to myself. I hope people were listening to my earlier, and I hope I didn't waste your time. So thank you, Ivaze, for the comment. Feel free to comment so I know that I'm not speaking to myself of what you've tried to get from the lesson. Okay. Wonderful. So inspirational. My pleasure. Okay. Thank you. So today we want basically to look at the aspect of grant reporting and closure. And by grant reporting, basically what we want to acquaint ourselves aspects of how do we close off a grant. Of course, in the previous sessions, we looked at how the starting points of the grant, the proposal, the budgets. Yesterday we dug into deep into okay, the second session we did we looked at around financial management and internal controls throughout as we do the grants management. Yesterday we did more about budgeting and budget monitoring and control. And today we want to look at aspects of grant reporting and closure. We shall also try to just tap a little on the grants compliance, which is very true even as we do the reporting, because the reporting also has not divert from the grant agreement and the grant guidelines that every donor might have. So basically, donor compliance is very key when it comes to grants management. I know I emphasize this a little on other aspects, but one of the things that you need to know that if you're running a grant or if you're aspiring to work in the area of grants management, one of the things that even the employers will be looking out for is your aspect of donor compliance. I think even when you look at the JDs, sometimes you find the aspect of donor compliance coming out very clearly, that you have to make sure that comply with the donor. Donor compliance is just like you being in a marriage, and you have to make sure you comply with the principles of marriage. Maybe marriage, I may have used the wrong, okay, not a very direct example, but it's like law. You have to make sure that you're complying to the law of, let's say, the law of Uganda. So if a donor gives you their money, there are key compliance areas that you need to look out for every donor. And if some of these will be silent, but then where they are silent, make sure that you ask. And that's why it is continuous good for you to have continuous communications with the donor, especially on things that you may not understand. If you're, for example, going to purchase an asset and you feel like, okay, this asset is out of our normal assets we've been buying. Maybe this asset, one, you're getting it from a totally different country. Maybe this asset, you're buying it as a second hand. This asset is of really of high value. Such things are things that should prompt you to actually even ask the donor to approve some of these things, or to give you guidance if it is okay to move ahead to buy them, because you don't want to do something that will again come out to be a disallowance. Now, in NGO world, we have what we call allowable costs, and then we have what we call disallowed costs. Now, allowed costs or allowables are usually costs that are in line with the donor. The donor, they comply with the donor. You understand? So they are within the agreement. So, for example, if the agreement says you can purchase assets over and above 5,000, and that asset fits within there, so that is an allowable cost. You get it? So we are going to understand more this as we proceed. Then disallowables, these are usually costs that definitely the donor will say no to them because either you've spent them or you are about to actually spend on them. So they will disallow them. You get it? So most organizations, why they want to make sure that donor compliance is very key, is because they don't want to have disallowables. Because when you have disallowables, it means the organization will actually have to meet these. So the key compliance issues that are related to different donors, we have line item flexibility. Line item flexibility. What I mean by line item flexibility is the aspect of to what extent does the donor allow you to move money from one line to another. or to what extent does the donor allow you to spend on a given line more than you're spending on another line. I'll show you an example here. I don't know if it's here. I'll show you. So we can see this budget. It has our unit costs. It's not very different from our other budgets that we looked at in the previous class. When you look at this line, this is program staff. So these were the program staff that we are going to work on this project. So when it comes to line flexibility, sometimes the donor can allow you to go beyond, let's say, they can allow you to go beyond, let's say, 100% of this line. So for example, our budget on this line is 23,537. So some donors can say that you can actually spend more than, let's say, maybe 25,000. So some donors can allow you spend more than what you have on that line, as long as the bottom line is not affected. And what do I mean? If this overall total budget is, let's say, 50K, I think that the other night, I think I used, maybe I used the high figure. But if the overall budget is, let's say, 50K or 50,000, whatever it can be, you have to make sure that you can overspend on a line, but you don't have to spend overall. So, and that would mean that if you overspend on a given line, it means that that overspend will be covered by an underspend on another line. So it's very important. So some donors, you need to agree on the flexibility of how can you move money from, let's say, like from this line to another line. You get it. So in most cases, donors will allow you move money within the given subheading. So for example, if this is personal costs, they can allow you move money from this line to that line. If this was, for example, when you move down, if this is expected result 2, they can allow you move money from per diem to transportation, or move from accommodation to transportation. For example, if some of these participants are already living in that area and they may not need accommodation because they are staying at home, and you have the savings here, the donor can allow you move this money maybe to this line. You get it. So you need to know about the flexibility of the donor when it comes to such cases. So it's very important for you to understand that when it comes to donor compliance. Then we have cost eligibility. When somebody speaks about cost eligibility, they are speaking about the aspect of what is the donor regulation, or what does the donor say on each of the costs. In cost eligibility, if you remember when we were looking at our agreement, which I think I shared with you, there are cases where the donor will say they allow some costs, they don't allow some costs. For example, I'll tell you that in the other case, we saw that the donor was saying that vehicles should be purchased from Japan. So if you have any cost of a vehicle from the US, then in that case, that cost will not be eligible to the donor. Very important. The other compliance issue is the donor reporting. Now with donor reporting, if the donor in the agreement says that you should report maybe bi-quarterly, then you should be able to submit your reports every quarter. If it's annually, that's the same thing. If it's biannually, then so if you don't report within those timelines, then it means that it is affecting your compliance, and it may affect even future opportunities, grant opportunities to your organization. Because the reason why donors put the aspect of reporting is because they want to know more about how their money is being spent. So very key, you need to understand how that aspect is. Then the other is visibility. Now, one of the things that you realize even as you aspire to join this industry is the aspect of Why do you think donors give us money? Donors give us money because they want their name to be somewhere. You get it? I think you've seen NGO vehicles with, let's say, the word USAID or the word UK aid or DFID or NORAD, whatever names that are there, or GIZ. In most cases, these donors want the aspect of visibility, and even in their agreements, you agree on some of these things. You get it? So as you do the compliance, you also need to think through the aspects of visibility. How are we making the donor to be seen? You get it? And that's why you see there will be a lot of money that is put into posters, a lot of money put into TV adverts to make sure that the donor is being seen. I think you saw there was an ad, I think an ad on NTV or NBS about I think either contraceptives, and you see at the end of the ad you'll see who is supporting the ad, and maybe if there are also donors that are actually sponsoring the ad. So visibility is very key, and it's a key aspect of compliance. The other is procurement, source and origin. For procurement, we also saw in the agreement that donor will specify when it comes to procurement. Either you have to seek approval for certain amounts, especially high amounts. They'll also speak about things to do with source and origin. Similar to the same example, cost selectivity is if it's a Japan donor, in most cases they want to restrict if it's purchase of vehicles to their country. We've seen for Chinese, in most cases, if they are giving a grant to construct a road, you see the Chinese part of the contractors. So all those sometimes will come within the donor agreement, and you have to comply with them if you have to build a good relationship with the donor. Pre-approvals still are not any different from what we've just seen. Pre-approvals, there are some donors who ask you to ask for approvals for certain aspects. For example, if you're recruiting a key staff to the grant, they will ask you to ask for approvals from them. If, for example, you're buying an asset of a given value from them. But partners, now in our first session, I think we looked at more partners, where we say that when it comes to the grant management, sometimes you find projects that are being implemented by different organizations, but it's the same project. So these organizations partner together, and they are called partners. So you can find a mother organization, let's say maybe Plan International, that gets money from a donor, let's say USAID, and now gets partners on the ground, like maybe UTN, maybe Rakai Health Institute, different small NGOs, and those, and then it of course works with those NGOs. So you need to know about the compliance issues by the donor when it comes to the aspects of partners. The other is exchange rates. I said there's a lot to do with exchange rates here. One of the things that we need to know is most of these donors give us foreign currency. So you need to know what is the donor's stake when it comes to exchange rates, because you're going to have a lot of money to exchange, and you have exchange gains and losses, and sometimes you may misuse them because you think the donor is not aware, and because you're reporting in foreign currency, so it's okay for you. I think you need to understand about these exchange rates and what the donor exactly says about the exchange gains and losses. The other compliance issue also is the start and the end dates. These are very key, and the reason why they are very key is because they also determine the allowability of the costs. Because if you spend any cost, for example, if the start date of this project is, let's say, 1st May, and for example, we are spending costs right now when we're not yet on 1st May, then such a cost will not be allowed by the donor. So it will be disallowable. And the same thing with the end dates. It's also good for you to know the end dates, because it will also help you to prioritize your implementation to make sure that you don't underspend at the end of the day. You get it? Because underspending and overspending is not good in the face of the donor. Then the other aspect is the budgets. You agree on some of the budget. We've seen budgets throughout the session. You need to agree on what budget have you. Sometimes you have several approvals going through with that donor, so you need to agree on a final budget that you implement it, so that it's usually to do with the reporting. You have to agree on the reporting template. Some donors will give you, of course, will give you their templates that you should use for reporting. The same thing with we saw that when it came to budgeting, they also give you templates when it comes to budgeting. Very important. So good donor compliance, of course, is very key in building and maintaining your credibility with the donor. It also shows you as a reliable person, and it can also guarantee you, of course, future support and resource mobilization for your programs. So you can't go for an NGO interview and don't speak about good donor compliance, because like that is their oil. That is what keeps them going. You get it. So as a finance person, you're like a gatekeeper of donor compliance. The reason why, because you keep seeing where money is going. So if money is going to areas that you feel are not right, you should make sure that you make noise to the organization. You get it. So if somebody is asking you about what you learned about grants management, you should make sure that you speak about donor compliance and also the different elements of donor compliance. Very key. Definitely, poor donor compliance just gives you the opposite of what good donor compliance gives you. You have firefighting. By firefighting, we mean you'll be at the end of the project and you have over 50% of the budget not spent, and you're in the last month of the project, and you're going ahead to buy assets, you're buying computers, you're buying vehicles, and the donor is wondering, what are you buying at the last day in the last month of the project that you couldn't buy in the first month? So it's very important for you to understand all those aspects. Excuse me. The same thing to do with the financial disallowables. I already gave you what disallowables mean and allowables. I said disallowables are usually what the donor will say, I'm not going to take that cost. And many organizations face them. Even the international organizations that we know face such cases. You have cases where the donor says, the purchase of that laptop, I didn't approve, and the organization has to meet it. So as a finance person, you are a gatekeeper to make sure that the organization has no disallowables. And if they are there, then you should make sure that you demonstrate that there was actually effort to actually find out more about this cost even before it was spent. And that's why you see it has no harm for you to consult the donor cases where you have question marks on some of these costs. Of course, the other is the non-current, the recurrent NCE requests. NCE means non-cost extension. NCE means non-cost extension, and in yesterday's session I said non-cost extensions happen where an NGO will request the donor to allow them implement the remaining amount of money in a period after the end of the grant. So for example, if at the end of the grant that is ending, maybe 30th April, you realize that you hadn't spent $40,000, and in case there are activities that you were still doing that you feel you should continue doing, you try your luck with asking for a no-cost extension. So it means the donor will not give you more money. The other that, other than no-cost extension, we also have cost extension. So if it's a cost extension, it means the donor will actually give you money. So it will be a cost to them. To be an extension that is costing them. That's why it's called a cost extension. And this one is called a non-cost extension. And then, of course, one of the other things that also the financial penalties, among others, credibility consequences, of which all may undermine, of course, your ability to deliver your vision. Your vision is to increase livelihood of youths in Uganda. Then you start things of poor donor compliance, more likely you will not really get there. You get it. So you need to make sure that you monitor donor compliance throughout the life cycle of the grant, and make sure that you get all this information from the donor agreement, including annexes and reference terms and conditions on donor websites. I say that some of the conditions of these donors will not be found in their agreement. So you have to learn more about these donors from the website. So in the same way, if you, for example, you just want to join an NGO, or you're already there and you're going to work with a given donor, it's encouraged for you to go and visit that donor's website to understand more about how those donors work. You get it. One of the things that you also need to understand is that in the NGO world, if you're developing your career, you should also aspire to work with some of these donors. These donors have offices here. So you find USAID has an office, UK Aid has an office, UN has an office around there, and they have different, again, the UN has broken down offices, UNHCR, UNICEF, all these offices are around here. So what if you get now to work with the donor? And it's very possible. The same principles work also for some of these donors, because one of the things that happens with these donors, even UN gets grants from other organizations. I think you saw, I think it was recently, I saw a comment from the UNICEF, I think the World Health Organization. Yes, the leader of the World Health Organization was commenting on the health, COVID health aspects in India, and was saying that it is time for organizations to bring money. So it means that you can, even UN also gets money, because World Health Organization is part of UN. So also UN gets grants and gives it to another organization. So donor compliance is very, very key. Okay. Ensure narrative. Okay. Basically here, what we are looking at mainly, this is reporting. This is reporting, and basically here what we are talking about, there are cases where a donor allows you to spend freely. Yes, there are cases where a donor allows you to spend freely. There are certain donors that will not give you restrictions, and that's why when we are starting our class, we say that there are restricted and non-restricted grants. But most of most NGOs or most donors will give you restricted funds, because they have understood the aspect of just giving people funds, because they know some of unless you have one of the things that I've seen is, if your NGO has the right systems, by right systems I mean has the right internal controls, in most cases the donor will trust the process. But on the overall, 80% of the donors will give you restricted funds, where you have to deliver on certain lines, and where you have to not overspend or underspend. If you underspend, they will take back their money, but that will affect your future credibility and future opportunities. You get it, huh? So when we are doing reporting, when it comes to donor compliance, one of the things we have to make sure is that there is consistency between financial and narrative. Now, we talked of reporting, said in reporting, we have two reports. We have the financial and the narrative report. Now, when it comes to the financial report, you have to make sure that the figures that are in there correlate with what has been highlighted in the narrative report. So in the narrative report, we planted 3 seeds in area A and area B. We bought hoes, pangas for farmers in this area. So the donor wants to get those 2 documents and look at here and also look at here when things are correlating. So it's also very key when it comes to compliance. The other is cost eligibility. Make sure you only include costs that you think are eligible. By this I mean, do a pre-check, do a self-check, because remember, when you include these costs, they are going to cost your reputation and credibility. For example, if you had a fine for driving over speed on a road, and remember you're working with an NGO that deals with children like myself, and you are speeding on the road, this donor will say we are trying to reduce maternal death, and this person is driving speedy on the road. What if they knock another child? So make sure that these costs are removed even before the report gets to the donor. Don't one of the things that you have to know, even these donors have finance people who look through these documents. So you don't include any cost that you think will affect your credibility. Then donor compliance in formats and required content. In the same way, donors will give you formats for financial and narrative reports. So you have to make sure that you work within those formats. You get it? It's very important that you work in those formats and share the required content. Narrative in line with agreed proposal objectives. Of course, the narrative, just like the way we see activities in our budget, even your narrative should also make sure that it highlights some of those activities. You get it? So you have to make sure that you didn't go beyond the objectives of the proposal. And of course, the other one is monitoring deadlines. They are reporting deadlines. The report must be submitted by 31st of December. And 31st of December, already people are ready for Christmas break. What do you do as an NGO? Make sure you prepare this report earlier on, or make sure you have dedicated staff that will forego their Christmas break to make sure they deliver this deadline. That is how we work. You get it? If you feel that time is not favorable, negotiate with the donor so that the deadline is adjusted. You get it? Very key for you to understand. Okay. These are just inputs for report writing. When you're writing a report, I'm going to show you an example of a financial report and a narrative report. But basically, when you're writing a report, there are things that you need to have with you. One is the proposal and the logo frame. I shared the logo frame, and logo frame is just trying to look at your inputs and then what will be the results. But proposal is the document used to apply for these funds. You have to make sure that, because in the proposal indicated certain things that you want to achieve and how you do this activity. So this should also be able to fit when you doing your report writing. And then most recent OPAS reports are also very key, because this also gives you some guidelines on what the donor exactly wants. There are some donors who want pictures, you get it. And there are some donors also who want you to feature maybe success stories. By success stories, I mean, if you've been maybe doing livelihood in a livelihood project in a given area, some donors would want you to get maybe a single youth who has succeeded in whatever they are doing and include their case study in that report, so they know. Pictures, ABCD, very key, as you can see on line 6. Then other is the template. Make sure that you use the template as provided by the donor. If you don't have it one provided by the donor, you can use the one that the organization uses. You get it. Then activity reports. These are also very key. Now, what forms part of the narrative report are your routine activity reports. And that is why when you reviewing financial, maybe accountabilities, we talked about advances and accountabilities, and we say that advances, we issue money to a staff to go and implement. Once they finish implementing, they come back with an accountability, and that accountability should be able to demonstrate how they utilize the money, including receipts and activity report. So you took money, 2 million, and you've now you did a training, everything happened. Come back and give us an activity report that indicates what did you exactly do, what did you teach, what did the students learn, or if you're teaching students, or what did the parents learn, or what did the youth learn if you're teaching youth. What are some of your reflections about the training? All that has, what are the attendance sheets, all those have to be indicated. What people did you train, by what numbers, female and male, what are the compositions? All those will be in the activity reports. And when you're doing your report, those are the reports that you now bring and compile and use to get information to help you to submit your final report. You get it, huh? Very important. And then the other one is monitoring data. We talked about the aspect of M&E, monitoring and evaluation. Now, monitoring data, why it is important here in a report writing is that monitoring data helps you to demonstrate a transformation to the donor. I'll give you an example. If you were doing, if you're implementing an education project, for example, in an area like Karamoja, and by the time you got to a district, maybe in Akapiripiriti or Kotido, 20% of the children were in school and the 80% was not in school. And maybe you are doing an education project that sensitizes parents to take their children to school. At the end of the project, the donor wants you to make sure that you present some of this data and indicate from the time you started implementing the project, how many children have been able to join school through your sensitization program. That is why this data is very key. It's the data that makes you stand out as an NGO. And mostly it's the same data that, of course, the donors will use when they are doing their publications. One of the things you have to know is that some of these donors, like you see CSR, for example, you see MTN doing MTN Marathon. They don't do these things for just. They do these things because they want to create impact, and that should be publicized at one point in time to create for them more sales, to know that these guys actually, that's why you find a Johnson & Johnson. I've worked on a Johnson & Johnson project. The Johnson & Johnson manufacturer in the US comes and funds a project here for babies in Uganda. When they take some of the pictures of the Ugandan babies and what they have done exactly, the other side people say, oh, Johnson actually cares for the people and has actually gone in Africa and done tremendous work like this. So it will boost their sales. So when you're writing this report, know that the donor will use this report for certain different things. And that's why even the activity pictures are very key for people to know that, okay. And when you come to feasibility, you'll see that some donors will even want you in some of these pictures to include their, at least their banner must be somewhere in these pictures for somebody to know that this activity was being done by a project in Uganda, funded by USAID or funded by UK Aid. So when you're doing a report writing, it's also, you're doing, it's like a marketing yourself again. Because once you do a good activity report, it means you actually spent money for the right purpose, and the donor will be impressed. And when there's any amount of money that you want to send it to Africa or to Uganda, you'll be the go-to donor. Or there will be, if there be another person who wants to recommend to them a donor, definitely they will say that NGO can actually do good implementation. So it's very key for you to understand. All right. In the comment section, what can we remember so far? One or two words that you can remember from our previous session on donor compliance before we proceed. I want to see one or two or three people tell me what they have planned. Okay, donor compliance allowable and disallowables. Okay, that is good. Key components to consider on donor compliance. NCE. Yes, nanny cost extension. That is very, very good to know that. Okay. Okay, CE, cost extension. Very important. Okay. Okay. Brilliant. Glad we are learning. So we'll move. We'll move now to the financials. Now, in most cases, this is where, as an accountant, you basically come through, and there are key things that you need to take into consideration when you're preparing any financial report. Now, we have what we call the proposal and budget. Now, these are also very key for you as a finance person when you're preparing your financial report, because the donor expects you to exactly, in most cases, by the way, the budget does not, the budget format does not divert from the reporting format. And what usually, basically, what we add, we just add columns of actuals and variance and burn rate, just like the way we saw on our budget monitoring tool. Now, the reason why we do our budget monitoring tool like that is in most cases, the financial reports will also be in the same format. Basically, the donor wants to see how much have you spent on each of the lines. What is the variance? Do you have any money that you didn't spend? And then also the donor wants to understand what is the burn rate. You get it. So that is why the budget is very key, as well as the proposal when you're drafting your financial report. Then the other is the transaction listing. Now, some of you are in NGOs and or in the private sector, and maybe you've come across what we call the general ledger. Now, the general ledger is very common in all, like nearly all organizations. If you're running a system, even if you're not doing a system, but the transaction listing, basically, you know, every day when you spend, for example, if we are buying t-shirts, maybe sensitization t-shirts, remember those t-shirts that have of lamp, maybe they are stopping child marriage. So we are buying those t-shirts, and then so we have that cost. So as an accountant, you're now going to post the transaction listing. Definitely, of course, will have the date, when you're posting the transaction. Yeah. Our transaction listing looks like. Trying to see if I can show you how transaction listing look like. But basically showing the date when the transaction happened, and okay. Okay, so this is our transaction listing, and different organizations will have different transaction listings, and different account systems may also give you different account transaction listings. Transaction listings are also called GL or general ledger transaction. Basically, you're downloading the general ledger from the system, and the reason why is because you see, when a donor sees maybe you've spent 20,000 on the salary line, they want to understand what is within that salary line. hope you get an idea what is within that salary line. I have something here. Okay. So depending on the donor line that you're looking for, somebody wants to understand what have they exactly spent under that line. So let me just to the budget. See something. So do we see our budget here? So in case we are doing our reporting, still on the same document here, I said that the financial reports are not any different from the budget formats. Basically, what adds to what additions that will be there will be basically actuals, variance, maybe variance percentage, variance percentage. You can also have burn rates. Now, one of the things you have to understand that these reports are not submitted only at the end of the project. They can be submitted. The donor can ask you to report on, let's say, quarterly. So they want to know how you're progressing on your budget. And that's why it will not so much be different from your budget. So if you have this as a modification, of course, like any report, it also have a title, who is the donor, and what. So I'm just trying to modify a budget to form now what? Have I gone? Sorry. Okay. So I'm saying that I'm just modifying this budget to look like a report. So if you have this as your budget and then you have your actuals, I'll right remove this. So this is here. So if my actual on this line of senior healthy officer lakeside is, let's say, the percentages, let me just try to make this normal number. Okay, maybe this is 21,000, like that. 21,000. So if I'm presenting to the donor that I spent 21,000 on this line, the donor would like to know, what is this 21,000? Did you just get this money and pay it through the bank to this senior health officer, or there is a composition? Now, to people who are in accounting, who are already practicing, know that if it is a senior health officer line, this same line you'll find the basic salary being posted there. You find allowances being posted on that line. You find the 10% NSSF contribution being posted there. You'll find their medical insurance, because all these are staff costs. So that is why when you're budgeting for, let's say, this budget line of a staff, you have to make sure that all these are taken into consideration. So when you are reporting to the donor, you also share with them what we call a transaction listing that shows what are the different components that make up this figure that the donor can try to replicate. So for example, if this were maybe this was my transaction listing, I'll just try to show you something small about my finance tips going here. Okay, so if this is my transaction listing, the transaction listing is usually extracted from the system, but just so you know what it means. So this could be just this could be account code, and this can be, let's say, this can be date. So that is date of the transaction. This could be, this is account narration. Account narration. This can be donor code. Donor code. Accounting code. Accounting code. So basically, I will need to know the date, need to know that, need an accounting code. This is how maybe the system is configured. Then I expect to see the transaction detail. Then I also expect to see maybe posted by. Yeah, maybe that's what I want to basically see. So if it is 30th of April 2021, now the donor code, this could be just be, I'll make sure that I'm using this donor code personal costs. And the reason why it is good for you to have this configured in your system is to make sure that even as you post transactions every day, they are linked to what? To the donor code. So when you run the report, it comes out easily for you, rather than you having to go and have it manually prepare it. Okay, you can manually prepare it, but at least gives you something that you can start from, basically. So you can have internal accounting codes for your system. For example, if this is 5099 and this is maybe 50992, like that. Maybe this could be 50934, like that. So those could be your internal accounting codes, like your chart of accounts for basic salary and the likes. So when you pay salary, you maybe it is salary for senior officer for the month of, okay, for the month of April. For the month of April, and maybe this was posted by Samuel Ivanda. Now, what happens is this is usually in the back end of the system. So when it is part of it's from the back end of the system. These are like the debits of your transactions. Because, for example, if you're let's say you're paying salaries, definitely your debit shall be on, if you maybe on the basic salaries what you're paying. So your basic will be there. Debit the basic salary with, let's say, okay, I'd actually forgotten the amount here, which is very important. So we have amount, very important. So in most cases, you also configure your system to have your local currency and to have maybe the donor currency. For example, this donor is a, okay, these are euros. So it's good to configure your system to also have euros. So amount, euros. Okay. Now, for example, here you paid 2 million for that role. Now, in most cases, the system in the back end, it will have, if your system allows you to input exchange rates on everyday basis, then well and good. If it doesn't, then you can just input in the system the exchange rate that you agreed with your donor. You get it. It's your exchange rate in this budget. Okay, this budget was already in foreign currency, so there was no exchange rate. But I'm going to assume. So assuming my exchange rate is 3, 4, okay, maybe 4,200 since they are euros. 4,200. This I don't do it manually. The system does it. So for 200, it's giving me 476 euros. Okay, by Samuel Evander. Maybe I have all these. I've put the narrations, I'm assuming, and I have maybe here 5 million as allowances. NSSF 10% of the 2 million and 7 million. That is about 700,000. Okay, so I have this. Okay, it's already normal amount. So I have these amounts. I was saying I'll just try to demonstrate for you that this will be all this information come from the system, but it comes from what you input. And I was trying to input for you one of the transactions. So we are debiting our base salary with 2 million. Now this you're doing it in the system. Either you're doing using maybe a dashboard that enters salary directly, or you do journals, whatever you do. So, and maybe you're crediting your cash. Since you're paying through cash, this is credit cash. So we're crediting by similar amount. It may not be similar amount, because remember, you're going to, this amount also includes the pay as you earn that you deduct. So for example, let's assume that for cash we are going to pay 1.7 after computing. So on the same credit, maybe there's also a credit for NSSF, the 5% contribution. Maybe this is 5% of 2 million is 100K. Maybe there's also another credit of your pay, which is, if this is 1.8, maybe this is 200. Just assumptions. So you see, now in most cases, the donor may not want to see these things. Like, their interest is most especially on the line that is hitting the expense line, which is your debit. So when you're running your GL, is more on the on the debits, on the expense line. Remember, in the budget we saw costs. Even when it comes to us reporting, our focus is also on the costs. So when you're running your GL, your focus should be on these different debits. So you run like maybe a 5,000 series. In most cases, most accounting systems will make these other accounting codes to have a different series, maybe a 3,000 series. So it means that when you're running your report, you make sure that it is within the series, maybe the expense series of 5,000. You understand? So when you're running your report, if you're presenting a transaction listing, the donor is interested in these expense lines. So back to our so-called report here. So if this is the donor budget, if there's a given line called, okay, I can actually have this donor code, personnel cost, and then I can have what we call expenditure code. I'm going to explain why I'm having two codes there. I'm having two codes there because in the same way, since I have personal costs, and then these personal costs are also broken down, I may want to create in my system also a line. Your system allows you to create different codes like this. A line that speaks about senior health officer, so that every cost that I post on this senior health officer is actually being tracked. So if I want to only costs, if maybe I had I had an accountant here, maybe I had an accountant, maybe I had a finance manager. If I only need costs for that position and I go and filter out, I should be able to get them. If I only need now the costs of a senior finance officer and I filter out, I should be able to get that cost. So what happens if you're doing your report And this is the line of the senior finance officer. The donor, if this is what is in your accounting system, the donor would want to see this document as well. Because, for example, here, when you look at the total that we've spent here, the sum is 1833 when you add all this. So when you're doing, for example, you're doing your maybe quarterly report, your first quarter report. And in most cases, what we do, you can link this. For example, if this I was looking at the summation of this, you can also link your reports. For example, it's 1833. I'll come to my donor budget here where there's actual and go to this sheet and link. So if I'm to get my variance there, if you remember the variance, so I'm to get my variance percentage, that out of that, if I'm to get also my burn rate, which is this out of the budget, like that. So what happens is if you're reporting to the donor, they want to know what is in this 1833. And that is why it is good for you to share with them this transaction listing. To say that, okay, that 1833, part of it was to pay for somebody's base salary, the other allowances, the other. So that is why the transaction listing is very important. I hope you understand, because I've explained a lot. So for each of these items, you have to, of course, the transaction listing is just one. And usually some systems, because they are configured very well, because for example, I'll tell you that if I was running different projects in my system, I'll also have maybe from the donor code, I'll have maybe a source. I've lost you. Connection. Okay. Am I better? Get back idea. Could be an issue of connection. But I hope it stabilizes. I think it's coming through. Okay, what I do, let me first get off and then come back. If somebody, if the system makes you the host, make sure you get me in. Okay, can hear you now. Can I? Okay, clear now. Okay, so I don't need to get off. Oh, okay. Thank God. Okay. Yes, thank you, thank you, thank you. You know, our Ugandan internet, huh? I think we need donors to come and rescue us from here because it keeps on breaking. If even when we pay our money, still the same story. Yeah, but I'm glad we can hear each other now. So basically, what I was saying is that your transaction listing should make sure that it answers what is here. If you have 1,000 shillings, it should also replicate in your transaction listing. You shouldn't have a different amount. And the reason why it is good to have a transaction listing is because the donor wants to read beyond what is in the report. They want to understand what exactly do you buy that made you spend a budget of over this much. So it's very important that you share that with the donor. So we are saying that the report is not any different from our monitoring document that we had last time. And the reason why it is not different is because you're reporting on your budget, the budget that you agreed with the donor. So ideally, it should not be any different. And the donor basically wants to know what are your actuals on each of the line that you agreed in the budget, and also wants to know what is the variance in terms of what have you compared to what was the budget, what is the variance, and what's the variance percentage, and what is the burn rate. You get it, huh? Very key for you to understand that. So I'll just want to proceed here. So the proposal and the budget, the transaction listing, we talked about that. Templates. Different donors will have different templates, but I've told you that most of the templates will be not very different from their budgets, because exactly the same information they want, you have in the budget, the same information that they need in the report, but extra what they need is your variance, your actuals, your burn rate. So in cases where a donor does not have a report form template, you just do something like the one I've just done in the previous example I've just done. You just make sure you add those columns on your budget, modify it, put a budget, put a project title, put the dates when that report relates to. Like the project date is very key. Just like the way you do your income statement, which says for the maybe for this period ending December 2021, it should also be for a specific period. In most cases, like I said earlier on, because in NGO it's not easy for us to find assets being held in a balance sheet, because assets are expensed. So the donor financial report will not have things like maybe an income statement and have a balance sheet. It will just be that wholesome document, because even when you go to the budget line of let's say equipment or budget line of vehicle, what the donor is mostly interested in is to see what did you spend. You said you budget for this vehicle 200 million. How much did you spend on that vehicle line? So very important for you to understand how to report if the project is being funded by 60 different donors in 3 different currencies. Wow. Now, what happens with that is that if a project is being funded by 3 different projects, I think I've given you an example in this sharing I just did here. I say that your system should be configured to take into consideration the donor. And I gave you an example here where you have different donors here. Maybe you have a UK donor, you have a NORAD donor. And usually what will happen is example, this is also personnel cost. Okay, could be personnel costs. Maybe this donor calls it staff costs. Maybe this donor calls it program costs. So different donors could call them different names. So what will happen is if different donors are calling them different names, and in most cases where a project is being funded by different donors, one donor will, let's say, be meeting part of the cost. For example, when it comes to salaries, one donor will be maybe meeting the basic salary because of their budget. Another donor will be meeting, let's say, allowables because of their budget, like that, like that. So what happens when you're doing your reporting, you have to make sure that you're filtering out. For example, if this was your transaction listing, very long as it is, if you're reporting for the USAID donor, you come here and only filter out the USAID donor. And that is the only cost that you report when it comes to your USAID. So if I was reporting the USAID donor, I would, okay, they said if I have different donors, it is also important for you that you have maybe different currencies. Your system can allow that. The system I'm working with currently allows me so. So you can have your amounts in, let's say, USD. You get it. So in the same way, the 2 million will be translated, divided by 3,700. I'll have a USD amount. Now, if your system does not allow you to have different currencies in the same in your accounting system, what you do, extract your report. For example, your report only heads here on UJEX, and then you go to Wanda, get the exchange rate and start computing. When and you also put a reference of your exchange rate from Owanda. You get it. Maybe you can, or alternatively, you can use the exchange rate used at reporting level to the donor. You get it, huh? So it's very key. What makes NGO? What makes one NGO expense? If expense is fixed asset, well, other capitalizes it. Does it depend on the donor? Yes, it depends on the donor. But one of the things that you realize that in most cases, okay, even the other people, NGOs, what happens with NGOs? If it's buying assets, maybe using its funds, it's much cases that it will capitalize them. But if it is buying assets from, okay, buying assets using funds from a donor, in most cases it will expense them in the report, because at the end of the day, the donor wants to see, have given you 50 million. Of the 50 million, how much have you spent? So they don't want to see that this one is now a capital asset that is in the balance sheet. I have to depreciate it. And that is why you see it's also not very common to see the depreciation cost in the reports. Because once you've bought an asset of, let's say, 20 million, that is the time when you write it off. So it gets off your, it gets your actuals, and it will no longer be part of your variance or part of your balance. So it depends on the policy. I'll tell you that for some organizations, you'll find that they buy several assets, but they only have maybe 2 assets on their balance sheet, because maybe those are the assets that they bought using their own money. And for those, they account them using the IS 16 principle, where they keep on depreciating it. One of the things that also we need to understand is NGOs currently don't have standards like the way you see the standards that we have, the ISCs and IFRSs. And currently, a team is already instituted that is trying to come up with standards for NGOs. And of course, this will be picked from the way we operate. So they will not be different from the things that you're learning today, because it's the team that has been brought together. These are different NGO heads that are thinking through how can we standardize for some of the things the way we operate. So I believe that maybe in the later future we'll now see more consistency of us saying we don't capitalize assets, and you'll find it across all NGOs that do not capitalize assets. So we, in most cases, we don't follow the ISCs and IFRSs because most of them are developed from the private side. But there's an idea that at one point in time, maybe in the next years, we shall have the specific donor, okay, NGO standards. Very important for you to understand that. Okay, so I hope I answered that question. Okay, transaction listing template, I talked about that one. Most recent past reports, this is also very important. Any comments that you got from the donor from the previous reports is very important when you're preparing a new report, because you'll be able to incorporate all this. You know how the donor wants that report to look like. Then the donor FX rules. Yeah, this is very important. I earlier said that when it comes to when it comes to FX, it's a common issue. Excuse me. It's a common issue because in most cases we shall get money in foreign currency. So you need to know from the donor how to exchange your let's say your information in UJX to their donor currency, and also how to cater for the let's say for the FXs. There are some donors that will say that even in the report include your FX gains and FX losses. Then there are some donors who say, for us, what we all want is you to report in the foreign currency, and we don't want to know about the other details. Get it? Then the other is the donor accrual rules. Now, in most cases, because projects have end dates, so I'll give you an example. If the project A is ending tomorrow, tomorrow is 30th. So if project A is ending tomorrow 30th, it is much likely that by end of tomorrow you have some costs you've not paid. You get it? Maybe it could be salaries. Maybe the month has not ended, so you've not paid salaries. But remember, the donor wants you to report all the usage of the money within that given period up to 30th. Now, if you end the period with some costs not paid, but those costs were valid, contracts had been signed, maybe an LPO was issued, goods were received, you need to understand what the donor says about the accrual. Accrual, we know the accrual concept from the accounting that says we recognize expenses as incurred and not when cash has exchanged hands. So you have to make sure that when it comes to the accrual rules, you know what the donor says. There are some donors that don't allow you to accrue. There are some donors that allow you to accrue. So all these things have to be known prior, even when you look at the donor agreement. Because at the end of the day, if that donor says there are no accruals, then make sure you pay people before the end date of the award or the grant. Because if you don't do that, you end up ending the project with some costs not paid. But in most cases, donors will understand. Costs like audit will likely have to be done after the project has ended. You could be doing monitoring and evaluation. In most cases, monitoring and evaluation will also be one of those costs that will be accrued. We usually have what we call end of project evaluation, or end of award evaluation, or end of grant evaluation. Basically, this is done to see what exactly has been the impact of this project. So a team goes on the ground. Sometimes they hire consultants who go on the ground and look through. Sorry, they look through things in the community to see what exactly have you done. If schools, you've built schools. If maybe you bought maybe sanitizers, or you bought whatever you did, you get it. They have to do an evaluation to make sure that all these things were done. So usually evaluation cost will also be part of the accruals. Then the other is budget flexibility. As you do the reporting, remember budget flexibility, I said here you're looking at individual lines. To what extent does the donor allow you to move money from, let's say, one person's salary, maybe from the accountant's salary, maybe to the program officer's salary? So you have to know that even when you're reporting, because you don't want to report and you have maybe you've moved money from the accountant to the program officer, and the donor does not allow this. You have to make sure that even as you report, all these things are in your mind, to make sure that they are not forth and back from the donor asking, why did you do this? And then, of course, the donor cost eligibility. When you run your GL and you see a car cost that is not valid, if your donor is a Christian donor who does not allow costs to do with beer, and partying. Make sure you don't include those ones, because at the end of the day, they will not be allowed. So when you are preparing this report, you have to make sure you check out all these things. You get it. It's better handled there than you sending it and the donor says, so you used our money to actually create a party for staff that went to the beach, and they took beer, you took crates of beer because you wanted to just spend money. Donors usually know that organizations want to just spend money, and because spending is a KPI. I said burn rate is a KPI in NGOs. People will always find funny ways of spending some of this money, so the donor needs to make sure that whatever you spend their money on is actually valid. You get it? Huh? So it's very, very important. So I want to end with this slide, and I want to speak about the close out. Can anyone hear me? I've tried. Sound? Any change in the sound? Is it better now? Okay. Oh, thank God. Okay. And internet. So I was saying that you have to close Okay, yes, now you have to make sure that you close your project very well, do the right monitoring. Now, one of the key principles is develop a closeout plan with timelines and responsibility at least 3 to 6 months before the award end date. So if you know that your project is going to end December 2021, make sure you start the process immediately by June. So you start you start look out for activities that need to be implemented, any assets that need to be bought, any engagement meetings that need to be done. All those things have to be done. So when you do start it a little early, it helps you to even plan much better. They are saying that if partners are involved, close out their agreements before closing out the full agreement. Now, in most cases, when you have partners on board, in most cases, you have agreements with them. So make sure that their agreements are, for example, if it's ending, your full agreement is ending in December, make sure the agreements are, let's say, ending around October there. So you have the 3 months timeline phase for you to make sure that you correct anything that didn't go well with the partners. There are some partners you give money, and at the end of the day, they will not spend some of this money. So you should make sure that the agreements end so that if there are any funds that are unspent, you prioritize them to spend them internally as an organization. And also for effective closure, make sure that of course, we are managing the 3 stages: before end date, at the end date, and after the end date. So we have before the end date. Before, for example, if the end date is 31st December, we have what we're supposed to do. At the end date, at the actual end date, we also have what to do. For example, at the end date, make sure that you lock your system, so that no costs are posted after that date, just in case there are cases where costs can be posted, or you can lock some of these codes so that people don't think that this project is on and keep on spending. Of course, after the end date, things to do with disposals, that is when you start those processes of disposing some of those assets in case the donor says you should dispose and give them back the money. That's when you do report writing. So we have different things that we also do there. Then the other one is maintain an audit evidence trail. In most cases, you will always be audited on that grant. Most donors will have this process. So make sure that you have all that information kept. But also this information can also help you to get more funding or to pitch for more funding. When somebody comes and looks at some of the projects you've done, then they are happy to give you more money. Then the other is mind compliance at this stage as well. E.g., they are saying financial reporting, exchange gains. We looked at compliance in detail. You get it? So it's very important for us. So I want to say that as we have closed out on our grant training, here we've also closed out on the class. So these are my last words to you. Now, I want to say thank you so much for being part of this training. I know I've shared lots of things, and I know you've also learned lots of things. Some of you are in the NGO world and you're going to start practicing some of these. Some of you are not in the NGO world, and maybe you hope that one time you'll get there. This knowledge can really help you, not only for your job, but also for general knowledge as an individual. You never know what opportunity can come your way. Get it? You have to make sure that you continuously position yourself for opportunities outside there. They keep coming. There are recordings. Yes, these recordings that I shared expire, unfortunately. So you have to go through them. And the reason why we do it because it's a company controversial. We want you to learn these things. And also, Zoom itself, Zoom has a capacity issue. You can't record things there and over time. After some time, it gets full and the recordings are deleted. So I encourage you to go through some of the recordings early. the slides, those ones, you can have them at any point in time. And if you've been part of this session, you realize that even when you look through the slides, you can be able to remember some of the things that are presented. You get it? So it's very important. How long do they take to expire? Unfortunately, a very small time. You get it? For example, the ones I shared with you are taking only 7 days. But I'm going to, since we are together, I'm going to request my team so we can extend this maybe for the next 2 weeks after this training, so that you can be able to go through some of these things and conceptualize them. I'm going to give you a simple assessment, like I've called it a simple assessment, and it will also be a take home, and I'll give you a time frame for when you should submit it. Basically, this assessment is to give us confidence that you've been part of this training and you followed it through. So if you feel you've been breaking on and off, I would encourage you to go through the recordings even as we await for the assessment. I think I'll share the assessment. Today is 29th. I'll share the assessments on Sunday for you. And after you do the assessment, we'll be processing your certificates, and hopefully by second week of May, we'll have our certificates ready that we shall give you. These certificates will be available at our offices, but you can also request it to be scanned to you in case you're joining this from up country or from another country. We have other people who are joining in from other countries here, so you can be able to access some of these. So it's very important for you to understand. But otherwise, I want to say thank you so much. And there's a question from Isa, a hand. Okay, I'll give the opportunity, please. Isa, could you unmute and share your question? Please, all other people, please keep on sharing your comments about the training, comment section, as we hear from Isa. He's saying he was putting up his hand. He actually, I think, put it down. Yeah, but Isa, I know you've had some challenges with following through the session. You've been coming in a little late, and I understand your issue. So I want to prioritize sharing with you. Today I was a bit busy. I was having another training somewhere today, and it took a lot of time. So it's very critical. Where are you located? We are located in Wandegia at Makerere University Primary School, and that is where we also do lecture from our CPA classes. So for those that are doing CPA or aspiring to join the CPA classes, you can always join us there, and let's see how we can help you become a professional. You get it? Yes, myself, you can always find me remotely. I also have I have an office here in Kisasi where I do several kind of things. Are you available for mentorship? What platforms do we use to reach you? You can reach me through WhatsApp. I do hold, I think some of you, I already shared some of my mentorship. Can I delegate someone to pick? Please, you can delegate somebody to pick your certificate. If at all you finished your tuition, we have some people here who did finish their tuition. And I will tell you that I've been a bit lenient for you to join in these sessions. Yeah, because like any other person, we are human. We are not like NGO that we give free things, but I'm human. So some of you reached out to me and indicated your challenge when it comes to funds. Some of you had to receive their salaries, and I said, okay, yes, you can join. So if you didn't finish your money, believe me, you'll not get your certificate. And even when I'm sharing the last slides and what I'm going to look through to see which of those people have not finished the money, then I will not share with you, because as the company, this will be budgeted to us, and we don't want. And we also want you to see that the value we've given you today, you can also take it home. So I expect you to, yeah, play the same part. So make sure that you work on your CV, you update it once we give you, even when you give your certificate. make sure you start trying out opportunities. Every time you see an advert, I think for the next about 1 month, I'll be sharing with you some of these adverts in the WhatsApp. Make sure you look at them and see, for the knowledge I have, can I relate to some of these things? If there's anything that you're seeing on those job descriptions that you feel you don't understand, please use the WhatsApp group to ask. I'll be engaging you on the WhatsApp group there in case you have any question onto some of the things that you've learned. That if you go through the slides or you go through the recordings and you feel you have a question, just drop it in the WhatsApp group, and then I'll be able to answer you and share. If you're not on the WhatsApp group, please make sure that you reach out to me and I add you to the WhatsApp group. One of the other things that I'm also on LinkedIn. I would just want to share my LinkedIn page here. Those that would like to follow me on LinkedIn, I would love to have all of you follow me on LinkedIn. I usually share great information on LinkedIn. Sharing my LinkedIn. Okay. That is my LinkedIn page. Make sure you connect with me on LinkedIn. That is my LinkedIn, my humble face there. I thought I do other things, please. Like I said, I'm a tutor, I'm a coach, I'm a mentor, but basically that is my simple CV. I'm currently a partnership finance lead at Save the Children. You see, I've only spent 4 months in this position. Previously, I was a finance manager in the same organization. I spent there 2 years and 2 months. I'm a person who says at least maximum should be a 2 year for me in a position. I joined this organization as a financial accountant, and within 1.5 months, I'd gotten this promotion. Now you can see, I even came from a private sector. You see, eh? So that's why I was encouraging you to not only just look at yourself as somebody in the private sector. You see where I came from. This one is just something that I do, my coaching and mentorship work under this company, Bucks Africa. Some of you have followed me, know about this. But I was working for some company called Vodafone. It even collapsed before I joined the NGO world. And I was there as an assistant accountant, tax and reporting, totally different things that I was doing here before I joined the NGO world. And I've now found NGO world as my home. And from this, of course, I look forward to growing still within the organization, but also for opportunities that are outside the organization. I really feel if I feel I don't get the growth in here, I'll definitely find my way out. And I believe the world will be looking forward to give me jobs. One of the things that you have to know is that LinkedIn has opportunities, please. I've gotten different opportunities from here. People keep coming to my messages with different opportunities. So make sure that you update your LinkedIn also always. Make sure you also have a good profile that somebody can look at and give you opportunities. I'll tell you that often I've been contacted by people giving me opportunities. I just want to show you one of them. I have many messages here. But somebody just comes to your message and says, I found your profile to be good. Can you come and work for us? And you're like, okay. So this actually works. So make sure you're active on some of these networks and make sure you have a good profile that somebody can look. I can't find a message must be, but people are looking for employees and you have to make sure that you position yourself as that employee. I became very active on this LinkedIn. So even such messages keep on getting lost. But it's very possible to actually get a job through LinkedIn. So make sure that you become active, and employers will be looking out for you. You get it, eh? Very important. They'll be looking out for you. I one time got a job here. It was even paying me very good money, over 10 million shillings via LinkedIn. So there's gold in LinkedIn. I will not show you my message. So very important. So here I share a lots of things on LinkedIn. I am a person who loves sharing a lot of knowledge. Make sure that you get there, and yes, update. Employers are also on LinkedIn. Connect with them. You get it, eh? And you'll be out there. People, even your summary here should be attractive. Also, let it speak about the things that you're doing. Let it be inspirational. The other person, what is special about you that somebody should actually say your profile is good, I can now give you a job. You get it, eh? So it's very important for you. Otherwise, mine is sharing. I can't get tired of sharing. People are asking different questions here. Is it possible to facilitate? I facilitate anyone in your office to deliver up country through a bus courier. Those other specific things we can try to speak about them through WhatsApp. Maybe that is possible, but we shall try to see whatever we can do to support you. Yeah, make sure before you go, you drop a comment about the session to know that you either what you learned or what, just like a general session. I think for today, based on your expectations for the sessions, how has been the session? That should be your comment before you at least leave this session. And then if there's anything that you need more clarity, please continue the conversation in the comment in the comment section. If you're watching this from social media, if you're in one WhatsApp groups, make sure that you also keep on asking things there. Then I'll come there, take some time to explain them. I'm a very busy person, but when it comes to my people, I'm always there to share some of this information with you. Yes, I'd promised some people to look at their CVs, those people that had paid first. I think there were about 3 people. So please reach out to me. Those other people that would like my services, you can also reach out to me. I'll share with you my rates of what you need. And the reason why I charge such a rate, because I'm a very busy man. So anytime I give you should really be able to derive some value as well for my family as well. I'm a married man who has to take my child to a very good school, and you people are the ones to facilitate me for what I know. So thank you so much once again. May God bless you. May God open opportunities for you, to all those that are striving to join different NGOs. May this really give you that route to those NGOs, to those that are in their careers, those who are accountants, finance officers. May you grow, and may you be proud of yourself at one point in time that all your efforts, I know some of you sacrificed this money, it was maybe meant for something, and then you saw this training and you were motivated. May this replicate into results on your side. Yeah, always yeah, let's keep the conversation coming, even on WhatsApp. I believe there's a lot that we can share about this training. Been a pleasure having all of you here. So unless there are any other questions, it has changed. Thank you for the comments. I really appreciate. These are really helpful. The training has been so amazing. You passed my expectations. I'm glad I did so. Stevia, thank you for the comments. Thank you, Dennis, for the comments. Thank you, Robina, for the comments. I really appreciate. The training has changed me a lot. Today, I was able to convene a meeting about concerns regarding a project that is being funded by 2 donors. Wow, Stephen, this is brilliant. Specifically on donor compliance, burn rate, and closeout operation, and was much appreciated. Wow, I love to see this kind of transformation, and maybe these things will come out, keep coming, even from sharing. So keep this feedback coming through. It helps us very much. It motivates us. You know, when you're working for an organization and they don't say thank you, then you feel like what you're doing is not well. So they motivate us. I think for myself, it's beyond just training. I love sharing. And one of the things I want to share with you as well is that whatever you're learning, make sure that you can keep sharing with different people. When you keep sharing with different people, you become an expert into them. There's a lot of transformation that you get it. And then also, if you're in whichever field you are in, make sure that you become an expert in it, that you can be called by different organizations to come and even share some of the information. Even when you're in that organization, make sure that people look at you as an expert in your field. So it's very, very important. And that has been my winning game. So yeah, thank you so much for being part of this. Please keep the comment coming, and where you feel you're ready to get off after your comment, you can get off. In case there's anything you miss out from here, make sure you drop in the comment section of the social media group where you are, or share it with me in the WhatsApp, in the group WhatsApp. Then I can be able to respond to you. I'm going to try to share some of the materials we used for learning, so we can easily catch up much easier. I will share those tomorrow. Yeah. Other than that, thank you so much. I'm really gaining knowledge about project proposal, financial management, yes, and closure. Now, this, Sylvia, this some of the things like the ones you've highlighted here. If you're doing an interview for NGO and you're telling somebody that you have this knowledge, they will be like, wow, somebody knows about budgeting and implementation. Like, you see these terms, the way you've highlighted them, they are typical NGO terms that somebody who has never been part of this training, somebody who has never worked with NGO will not know them. So these are the cases. This is how you're able to challenge people on interviews, because you'll be speaking about the terms that these people are aware of. When you speak about burn rate, that I'm going to come to your organization and support you to make sure that your burn rate is to the point, to make sure that we are spending the money as per the donor agreement, then somebody will know that this is the person we are looking for. Somebody would try to gamble on you and say, let's try out this person and see what happens, because many organizations are looking out for stuff like you. And I said, don't be afraid to start small. If there's any, like I think I showed you my LinkedIn here, where I started as an accountant. I'll even tell you, I'll tell you something that you may not know. I actually took on this job at a lower pay than my previous job. Of course, because I was looking ahead. You know, sometimes in life you have to take hard decisions, and these hard decisions will actually pay off at one point in time. So in my mind, because I was in an organization that was not really I was not seeing progress, I was not seeing myself growing, I said, why not take a chance into another organization that has opportunities to grow? I'll tell you, when I joined Save the Children, I had to first find out more about the organization, see how many finance staff they have, for me to know that, okay, if I want to grow, is there a space for me in there? So I said I need to go there. And then I said, at least within 2 years, I should have grown. I'll tell you that if I'd remained where I was, I wouldn't have grown where I am. But you can see I joined as a financial accountant painfully. I take a salary cut. I went through finance manager. I proceeded. And now I'm this. Maybe I'm going to become a finance director in just the next 2 years, or whatever it could be. But I'm already leading a team. You get it? So life can be like that. So sometimes you have to take hard decisions about your career, and it will help at one point in time. So don't be afraid to start small. Those jobs, you could be a senior accountant right now, and you feel like I cannot take that finance officer job. I'll tell you that those finance officer jobs that you see pay 5 million, 6 million, 7 million, some of them even pay in dollars. So why would you remain to become, because you're now a senior accountant, there you feel you're looking for finance manager jobs? That is not going to come if you don't have the experience. Why don't you try to start small? Start from that lower job. When one of the things that I've realized, when you enter an organization with a lot of your expertise, they will even be afraid of you. Just 1 year, you'll be able to be promoted and you move. You get it? I found my promotion after 1 year and 7 months. I actually even found several people in the organization who had worked for the last, let's say, 4 years. But I was able to beat them because I came with a lot of ambition. I knew what I really wanted. I knew I joined here and I knew I wanted to grow very fast, and it really worked out for me. So it's very good. Thank you, Aldo, for the comments. Being the best ever training. I had online grants management tree agreement, donor compliance. Okay, thank you for these compliments. Make sure you leave one before you go, please. They are really good. Tell me about the training. What did you really get from the training? I would love to know that you've been following some of the things. Today there was a gentleman who asked me, Sam, can I just pay you money for the certificate and not attend? And I was like, that person pissed me off. I was like, so you want money? You want to give me 200,000 to bribe me by 200,000 and I give you a certificate for what you've not understood, and you go and show the certificate somewhere and they ask you about donor compliance and you have nothing on your mind. That doesn't work in this world. I will not compromise. And they say, who trained you? Samuel Ibanda CPA. Many people know me in Uganda. So you want them to say that I don't know what I teach? That is not right. So make sure that the knowledge you've gotten, you can at least be able to demonstrate it. And some of these things are on your mind. If you're going for an interview, go through some of these documents and make sure that you really understand what is there. So it's very important for you to always know some of these things, because no one will tell them to you, and it's me telling them to you here. Keep on adding these papers. We also have trainings. We have a training. We have a training on IFRIS. Make sure that you join that training of IFRIS. It is happening on 1st May, Saturday, in case you're in the private sector or even when you're in NGO. Even NGOs, we are also being affected by IFRIS because we should have suppliers with the IFRIS system. But you never know where this you may need it. Just about yesterday, I got a call from an organization that wants me to go and help them with their financial system. They are a consultancy, and they want me to help them. So your knowledge that you're getting from here should not only be restricted to your job. You should make sure you position yourself as a consultant out there that people can pay some money for and do something. At the end of the day, we want to make money so we can take good care of our families and be happy, live a happy life. Be like Hamza, take our wives to Dubai and enjoy. So friends, it's been a pleasure. I can speak and speak. Allow me go and have time with my family and have supper. So cheers. Make sure you live at your own time, but also make sure that you leave at least a comment. Tell me how has been the training fees, so I know. At least I've gotten from several people, but several of them have not given. Even if it's 2 or 3 words, make sure that you leave something here. For any questions, reach out to me and I'll be able to help. So thank you so much. God bless you. Bye-bye and have a good night.